My name is Anita Jose. I'm 31, a civil engineer living in Colorado, and 3 months ago, I learned something that should have been obvious long before it happened. Sometimes a relationship doesn't end with a fight or a betrayal you can point to. Sometimes it ends with a sentence said so casually that the person speaking it doesn't even realize they just shattered everything. I'm not flashy. I don't thrive on chaos. I like structure, quiet routines, and knowing exactly where my life is headed. I worked hard for what I have: my own house, a paid off SUV, a career that pays well and makes me feel capable. My friend Kevin likes to joke that I live a boringly responsible life. I always took that as a compliment. Then I met Eli Caldwell, and for a while, even my carefully balanced life felt brighter. We met 3 years ago at a weekend hiking meetup, one of those casual outdoor groups where half the people show up more for socializing than for the trail. Eli stood out immediately. He was easy to talk to, funny without trying too hard, and carried this creative energy that made everything feel lighter. He worked in graphic design, had an artsy streak, and somehow managed to make spontaneous plans without making them feel reckless. Our early relationship felt effortless. Weekend road trips to small mountain towns, thrift store dates hunting for weird vintage pieces we didn't need, lazy Sundays that turned into late-night conversations about everything and nothing. Friends commented couple goals on our photos, and I won't lie, I believed it. We looked good together. More importantly, it felt good. Looking back now, I can admit something uncomfortable. It only felt good because I was ignoring the third presence in our relationship. Her name was Tessa Sterling. Eli and Tessa had known each other since they were kids. Same neighborhood, same schools, same long-running inside jokes that apparently never expired. He described her as his female best friend, and at first, I genuinely didn't think much of it. I have male friends. I understand that platonic friendships exist. But there's a difference between a friend and someone who quietly occupies space that isn't theirs. Tessa was always around. Game nights, dinner plans, holidays. If Eli was there, Tessa wasn't far behind. She'd show up unannounced, let herself in like she lived there, comment on furniture choices as if her opinion carried weight. Once, I watched her grab a mug from Eli's cabinet without asking, like the place belonged to her. I noticed, I just didn't say anything. Kevin noticed too. One night, we were at a sports bar watching the playoffs when Eli's name came up for what felt like the 15th time that week, because somehow every story I told included Tessa. Kevin set his burger down and looked at me carefully. "Anita," he said, lowering his voice. "That's weird, right?" "They're just close friends," I replied, repeating Eli's favorite explanation. Kevin didn't smile. "Close friends don't have keys. They don't show up for breakfast uninvited. That's spouse behavior." I brushed it off. Told myself Kevin was being protective. Told myself I was overthinking. Eli and I were engaged. We were planning a wedding, talking about buying a bigger place together. Tessa was just there. Nothing to worry about. The proposal happened last December. Eli took me to a scenic overlook I loved, timed perfectly with sunset. It wasn't extravagant, but it was thoughtful. He got down on one knee. He cried. I cried. I said yes. He posted it immediately, hashtags and all, announcing our forever to the world. I thought we were solid. Wedding planning started soon after, and that's when everything began to crack. Eli's mother, Patricia, was deeply involved, borderline invested. She insisted on coming dress shopping with me. At the bridal shop, I tried on gowns that cost more than my first car, while Patricia encouraged me to pick whatever makes you feel like a bride. I finally chose a dress, lace overlay, fitted bodice, elegant without being over the top. The price tag read $8,000. My stomach dropped, but Patricia didn't hesitate. She pulled out her credit card and announced it was their wedding gift. She hugged me, cried happy tears, told me every bride deserved her dream dress. I thanked her, still slightly in shock, but swept up in the moment. 2 weeks later, I was sitting at Eli's apartment addressing wedding invitations. Tessa was there too. Of course she was. We were sealing envelopes, the kind of mind-numbing task that makes time crawl, when Eli spoke casually, like he was discussing what to order for dinner. "So, I've been thinking about the name situation." I didn't look up. "What name situation?" "After we get married," he said. "The last name thing." I shrugged. "Okay, what about it?" He didn't hesitate. "I've decided I'm taking Tessa's last name instead of yours." The room went silent. I froze mid-seal and slowly looked up at him. Tessa suddenly found her phone incredibly interesting, her eyes glued to the screen like it held the secrets of the universe. Sorry, I said carefully. What? Tessa's last name, Sterling, Eli repeated. Eli Sterling sounds better than Eli Hose. You have to admit it flows better. My chest tightened. You want to take your female best friend's last name, I said, each word deliberate, after marrying me. It's just a name, he replied, completely unfazed. Sterling sounds elegant. Hose is kind of harsh. Tessa let out a small, awkward laugh, but didn't say anything. If it's just a name, I asked, why not keep yours, or take mine? Because Sterling is objectively better, Eli said. Tessa and I used to joke about it when we were kids, how we'd be siblings someday with the same last name. It's been a thing forever. He said it like it was cute. I stared at him, waiting for him to realize how wrong that sounded. He didn't. I looked at Tessa. What do you think? She glanced up briefly. I mean, it's his choice. If he wants Sterling, that's fine. Fine. I felt something cold settle in my chest. So you're fine with my fiancé taking your last name? Eli sighed, irritated. Why are you being weird about this? Because it is weird, I snapped before I could stop myself. Do you hear yourself? You're acting like I'm asking to marry her, he said. I didn't respond right away, because the terrifying part was how close that felt to the truth. Tessa's been in my life longer than you, Eli continued. She's permanent. This matters to me. There it was. The hierarchy laid bare. I set the invitation down carefully and stood up. I need some air. I walked out to my SUV and sat there for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, replaying his tone. Casual, confident, like I was the unreasonable one for being hurt. I called Kevin. She wants to do what? He asked when I told him. He wants to take her last name, I said. Says it sounds better. That's not about the name, Kevin replied immediately. That's about priority, and you're not it. I knew he was right. When I went back inside, Eli and Tessa were laughing over something on her phone. The invitations lay forgotten on the table. We need to talk, I said quietly. Tessa looked at Eli. He nodded, and she left, like she needed permission. If this is really that big of a deal, Eli said, already annoyed, I can just keep my last name. He said it like he was doing me a favor. I stared at him, something inside me snapping into place. Do you hear how that sounds? He frowned. Sounds like compromise. No, I said softly. It sounds like I'm an obstacle. He crossed his arms. You're blowing this out of proportion. Maybe. Or maybe I'd finally stop shrinking myself to make his world work. I need to think, I said. Think about what? He snapped. We're getting married in 4 months. You're not going to blow up our wedding over a name, are you? I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized he wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of losing the plan. I'll let you know, I said, and walked out. That night I didn't sleep. By morning, my anger had gone quiet and sharp, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. First stop, the bridal shop. I woke up the next morning with that strange, dangerous kind of calm, the kind that only comes after a night of replaying every word, every look, every dismissal. Eli's voice echoed in my head. It's just a name. Tessa's permanent. You're blowing this out of proportion. The more I replayed it, the clearer it became. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't poor phrasing. This was honesty, raw and unfiltered. I wasn't his priority. I was an accessory to a life he'd already emotionally built with someone else. Once that truth settled, the decision felt obvious. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't send a dramatic text or demand a conversation where I'd once again be told I was overreacting. Instead, I got dressed, grabbed my purse, and drove straight to the bridal shop. They had just opened when I walked in. The bell over the door chimed softly, and the smell of fabric and perfume hit me like a memory I didn't want anymore. A sales associate recognized me immediately. Anita, how exciting. Are you here for alterations? No, I said calmly. I need to speak to the manager. A few minutes later, I was sitting across from her at a small desk, hands folded neatly in my lap. The engagement is off, I explained. I need to return the dress. She looked genuinely surprised. Are you sure? You seemed so happy when you chose it. I'm sure. She pulled up the order on her computer. The dress hadn't been altered yet. The purchase was less than 30 days old. The policy was clear. They processed the return. $8,000 refunded to Patricia's credit card. When the receipt printed, I stared at it for a moment, not with sadness, but with relief. That dress had been for a future that never actually existed. I walked out without looking back. Next stop, my bank. I withdrew $15,000 from my savings, money I'd been carefully setting aside for a future Eli and I had supposedly been building together. As the teller counted the cash, a thought crossed my mind. Why am I saving for a life where I'm second place? I wasn't. I drove home, opened my laptop, and booked a 3-week solo trip to New Zealand. It was something I'd wanted to do for years. Eli always shut it down. Too long of a flight, too expensive, Tessa couldn't come, it wasn't practical. I clicked confirm without hesitation. Flight left in 4 days. Perfect. Then came the part that required precision. Eli was at work. I knew his schedule by heart. I drove to his apartment and used the key he'd given me months ago. The irony wasn't lost on me, especially considering how easily Tessa let herself in whenever she wanted. I packed everything that was mine. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, books, chargers, my coffee maker, every trace of myself. I worked methodically, efficiently, like I was closing out a project. It took just over an hour. When I was done, his apartment looked exactly the same, except I was gone. I placed the key on the kitchen counter. And then I walked to the closet, the space where my wedding dress was supposed to hang. Empty. I took out my phone, opened my printer app, and printed a photo I'd saved months ago. One of Tessa smiling brightly at a holiday dinner, arms slung casually around Eli's shoulders. I taped the photo to an empty hanger, centered it carefully. Then I closed the closet door and left. No note, no text, no warning. I wanted him to see it. I got home just as my phone started ringing. Eli. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again, and again. Finally, around 6 of that evening, I answered. Hey, he said, like nothing was wrong. How was your day? Productive, I replied. That's good, he said. Listen, I've been thinking about the name thing. Maybe we can compromise. I could hyphenate. Eli Caldwell Sterling or something. Sterling's still there. Of course it was. Actually, I said calmly, check your closet. Silence. I heard footsteps, a door opening. Then, where is my dress? His voice cracked through the phone, sharp and panicked. What the hell is this? He shouted. Is that Tessa's face? Why is her face in my closet? Anita, where is my dress? I returned it, I said evenly. You what? I returned it this morning. The refund's already been processed. Your mom should see the credit in a few days. You had no right, he screamed. That was my wedding dress. It was an $8,000 dress for a wedding that isn't happening, I replied. Seemed wasteful to keep it. He started yelling, accusations, insults, disbelief, his words tumbling over each other in rage and panic. I let him burn himself out. When he finally paused to breathe, I spoke. Are you done? This is insane, he said hoarsely. You destroyed everything over a name. No, I corrected. I ended this because you prioritized your female best friend over your fiancé and acted like I was crazy for noticing. That's not fair. You said she was permanent, I reminded him. I listened. Silence again. I'm going to New Zealand, I added. 3 weeks, solo. What? When? 4 days. You can't just disappear. We have planning to do. Had, I said, past tense. He sounded desperate now. Please don't do this. Watch me. I hung up. Blocked his number. Blocked his social media. Blocked his email. Scorched earth. Then I called Kevin. I did it, I said. You did what? Returned the dress. Booked New Zealand. Ended it. There was a pause. Then Kevin laughed. Half shock, half admiration. Holy hell, he said. That took guts. Or self-respect, I replied. The next 4 days were chaos. Eli tried calling from different numbers. Patricia left furious voicemails demanding explanations. Mutual friends messaged asking if the wedding was really off. I ignored all of it. Tessa tried calling once. I didn't answer. The morning of my flight, I zipped my suitcase, took one last look at my quiet house, and felt something unexpected. Peace. As I boarded the plane, I turned my phone off completely. For the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel like I was abandoning something. I felt like I was choosing myself. The moment the plane lifted off the runway, something inside me loosened. Not happiness, not relief exactly. Silence. The kind that lets you hear your own thoughts without someone else's expectations buzzing in your ears. I didn't turn my phone back on, not at the layover, not when I landed. I wanted the world to exist without me for a while. And for once, I didn't feel guilty about that. New Zealand greeted me with clean air and an unfamiliar sky. I rented a small camper van, mapped out the South Island, and drove without a plan beyond go, where it feels right. No timelines, no compromises, no checking in. The first week was physical exhaustion in the best way. Long hikes, cold mornings, sunrises that felt personal, like the world was rewarding me for choosing myself. But the second week was when the thoughts came. Sitting by Lake Tekapo one night, wrapped in a blanket under the clearest night sky I'd ever seen, I finally let myself replay everything without minimizing it. How often I'd adjusted my tone so Eli wouldn't feel attacked. How many times I'd swallowed discomfort so Tessa wouldn't feel excluded. How carefully I'd learned to make space for a woman who was never supposed to be in the center of my relationship. The realization hit hard and clean. I hadn't lost Eli. I'd been slowly disappearing long before the name conversation ever happened. Halfway through week 2, curiosity got the better of me. I turned my phone on. It exploded. 73 missed calls, dozens of texts, voicemails stacked like wreckage. I listened to exactly one. Eli's voice came through cracked and hoarse. "Anita, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I messed up. The name thing was stupid. I didn't think it through. Tessa and I aren't even talking right now. I miss you. I love you. Please call me back, please." I deleted it without responding. Kevin texted shortly after. "Kevin, she showed up at your place crying. Patricia's furious. Also, Eli and Tessa had a huge fight. Like, nuclear." I stared at the message for a moment, then typed back, "Me. Let them deal with it." By the end of week 3, I felt lighter. Not healed, not euphoric, just unburdened. When I landed back in Colorado, reality came rushing back the second I turned my phone on. Missed calls again. New voicemails. Even Tessa had tried reaching out. I ignored everything except Kevin, who picked me up from the airport. First thing he said when I got in the car, "You look good." "Relaxed," I said. "Exactly," he replied. "Eli's been asking about you nonstop." Not interested. We grabbed lunch downtown. Halfway through my burger, my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello?" "Finally," Eli said. His voice was tight, emotional. "You've been dodging everyone." "I was on vacation," I replied calmly. "I'm allowed to be unreachable." "We need to talk," he said quickly. "Please, just hear me out." "I'm eating lunch," I said. "Make it quick." "Can we meet in person?" "Please, Anita, I need to see you." I hesitated. Kevin watched me carefully. "You don't owe him this." "I know," I said. "I need closure." We agreed to meet this next day at a public park. Neutral ground. Daylight. No drama. Kevin shook his head. "She's going to cry." I corrected automatically, then paused. "He's going to cry." "Same difference," Kevin said. "Just remember why you left." I showed up early. Eli arrived looking rough, hair unwashed, dark circles under his eyes, sweatpants instead of his usual polished look. He tried to hug me. I stepped back. "Let's just talk." We sat on opposite ends of a bench, a physical distance that mirrored everything else. "I've been miserable," he started immediately. "I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't focus at work." I nodded once. "Okay." "That's it?" he asked, frustrated. "You don't care?" "I had a great 3 weeks," I said honestly, traveling solo, doing what I wanted, without managing anyone else's feelings. He flinched. "Without me?" "Yes." Silence stretched between us. "I ended things with Tessa," he blurted out. "Our friendship. I realized how unhealthy it was." "You ended things after I left," I replied. "That's not choosing me. That's panic." "I chose you," he insisted. "I'm choosing you now." "No," I said quietly. "If you'd chosen me, you never would have suggested taking her last name in the first place." His shoulders sagged. I know I messed up." I studied his face, desperation, regret, genuine emotion. And still nothing stirred in me. "Do you know why I left her photo in your closet?" I asked. He swallowed. "To hurt me?" "To show you the truth," I said. "In your head, you were already building a life with her at the center. I was just fitting myself around it." "That's not true." "It is," I replied. "How many decisions did you make based on what she thought? How many plans changed because of her input?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. I stood. "I'm not going to compete with your best friend for my own fiancé's attention." "Please don't give up on us," he said, voice breaking. "I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling. I'll prove you matter." "You shouldn't have to prove that," I said gently. "In a healthy relationship, your partner just knows." I walked away. Didn't look back. That night, Kevin called. "How'd it go?" "Exactly how you said," I replied. "Crying, promises, no accountability." "And you?" "I'm done." 2 weeks later, I heard through mutual friends that Eli and Tessa were inseparable again. Not surprised. Patricia called once more, demanding I pay back lost deposits. I reminded her that her son was the one who decided another woman's last name mattered more than his marriage. She threatened legal action. I told her to try. Never heard from her again. The ring? I kept it. Had it reset and gave it to my mom for her birthday. She deserved something beautiful, no strings attached. 3 months later, I got a promotion. Joined a climbing gym. Went on a few casual dates. No rush. Being single after that disaster felt like freedom. And then, one evening at the climbing gym, everything changed again. I didn't go to the climbing gym looking for anything profound. Kevin had been nagging me for weeks. You need a hobby that doesn't involve overthinking your entire life, he'd said. Climbing seemed harmless enough, physical, focused, and mercifully quiet. The first night I went, I slipped on an intermediate route and landed flat on the mat, pride bruised more than anything else. Third hold's a fake out, a voice said beside me. It messes with your weight distribution. I looked up. He was tall, calm, and not even slightly amused by my failure. Just helpful. No smirk, no ego. Good to know, I said, brushing chalk off my hands. Wish I'd known that 5 seconds ago. He smiled. You'll get it next try. We climbed together for the next hour. Easy conversation. No probing questions. No intensity. Just two people sharing space without tension. His name was Noah Reed. Physical therapist. Owned his own small practice. Liked routines. Disliked drama. And believed most problems could be solved with boundaries and consistency. We grabbed smoothies afterward. Are you seeing anyone? He asked, casual but direct. I gave him the condensed version of the Eli disaster. No bitterness, no theatrics, just facts. He blinked once. He wanted to take his female best friend's last name while marrying you. Yep. And you left. Returned the dress, booked a solo trip, didn't look back. Noah nodded slowly. Good. That was it. No minimizing, no devil's advocate, no, but he didn't mean it like that. We started seeing each other, slowly, no rushing, no future promises wrapped in fantasy, just consistency, presence, follow-through. The contrast was almost shocking. Noah asked my opinion and listened. He made plans and kept them. His friends welcomed me without making me feel like an intruder in someone else's story. And there was no Tessa-shaped shadow hovering over everything. 3 months into dating, a mutual friend posted wedding photos on social media and tagged me by mistake. Eli. New last name and all. Eli Sterling. I stared at the photos longer than I expected to. Not because I missed him, but because something felt off. Noah noticed. You okay? Yeah, I said honestly. I think so. He studied one photo, then said, He doesn't look happy. He looks relieved. Like he finally got permission to be who he wanted. That hit harder than I expected. Eli's smile wasn't joy, it was validation. Like he'd won an argument no one else knew was happening. Weeks later, Kevin called with an update I hadn't asked for. They're already fighting, he said. Money, chores, whose friends they see. Turns out childhood jokes don't translate well into marriage. Shocking. Then came the message. A new account, new username. Eli again. You were right, about everything. We're separating. Turns out marrying someone because you like their last name isn't a great foundation. I showed it to Noah. Are you going to respond? He asked gently. I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I said. He's looking for absolution. I don't owe him that. I blocked the account, deleted the message. That was the moment I knew I wasn't carrying the story anymore. 6 months later, Noah and I took a trip together. New Zealand, my idea. He wanted to see it through my eyes. It was different sharing it with someone who actually wanted to be there. 1 year after returning the dress, my life looked nothing like I'd planned, and everything like I needed. Peace, partnership, no competition. The last I heard, Eli still used Sterling online. He got the name. I got my life back. About 6 weeks after I blocked Eli's last message and thought the story was finally over, I got a call I wasn't expecting. It was from the wedding venue. Hi, is this Anita Hose? The coordinator asked politely. Yes. We just wanted to confirm something with you directly. There was an attempt to reinstate your canceled wedding booking. My stomach tightened. Reinstate? Yes. Mr. Caldwell came in with another woman claiming they were now engaged and wanted to use the original deposit. I let out a slow breath. We are not reconciled. That wedding is permanently canceled. There was a pause. Understood. We suspected as much, but we needed to hear it from you. If they want to book, they'll need a new contract and a new deposit. After I hung up, I sat on my couch staring at the wall. Of course he did. He didn't just want the name. He wanted the narrative. He wanted to overwrite the consequences. I called Kevin immediately. You're not going to believe this, I said. Try me. He tried to hijack our wedding venue with Tessa. Kevin laughed so hard he actually choked. No way. I wish I were exaggerating. So let me get this straight, Kevin said between laughs. He blew up his engagement because he wanted her last name. You walked away. He begged. You said no. And now he's marrying her anyway? Looks like it. Kevin whistled. That's the most predictable ending I've ever heard. It didn't make me angry. It didn't even make me sad. It just confirmed something I'd already accepted. Eli didn't lose me because he loved Tessa. He lost me because he never learned how to choose. A few weeks later, Noah and I were at the climbing gym when my phone buzzed with another update from the extended friend network I'd mostly muted. Photos. Eli and Tessa, now officially married. I didn't linger. One glance was enough. Noah noticed anyway. You okay? Yeah, I said honestly. I feel distant, like I'm watching someone else's life. That's usually a good sign, he replied. And it was. Months passed quietly, in the best way. Noah and I moved in together after 8 months. No power struggles, no negotiations over who mattered more. Just two adults building something that didn't require constant defense. When he met my family, my mom pulled me aside and said, "This one feels different." She was right. About a year after the dress return, almost to the exact day, I got one final message. Another new account. Another attempt. "I'm not asking for anything," Eli wrote. "I just need you to know you were right. Tessa and I are separating, less than a year in. Turns out childhood fantasies don't survive real life. I threw away something real. I'll regret it forever. I hope you're happy." I read it once. Then I showed Noah. He didn't tell me what to do. He just asked, "What feels right?" Blocking it felt right. Deleting it felt right. Letting the story end without a reply felt right. Because closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from the moment you realize they no longer have access to you. Last I checked, pure curiosity, nothing more, Eli still used Sterling Online. He got the name he wanted. I got something better. A life without competition. A partner who chooses me without hesitation. And the certainty that walking away wasn't dramatic. It was necessary.